I sit here today, it's March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, 2018. And I just thought I'd take a look back at some of the pictures and video that I have of Lois, Bear, and David, John, and Stephen from way back in the 50s to probably the 70s. This is the first picture that we've had all together. I guess there's Bear and Lois on the left with me standing below them. And that's Vernon being held by his father, Frank Nelson, and my mother's sister, Thelma. And then mother and father, Rasmus and Carrie Thorson. And then, of course, my mother holding the coffee cups. This was a Easter dinner back in 1951, as I remember. David was born on May 24th, the very next month. It's not a great picture because of the blurring, but here it is a year later, and my dad, Clarence, is now cutting David's hair. Probably, I don't know for the first time or not, but probably close to it. And I'm standing there, as it says, for diversion. I'm not sure I'm doing a very good job. I don't know why this was done in the living room instead of the basement, but it was in the living room here this time. Next, we jump ahead to 1952, in the front yard of Grandma and Grandpa Thorson, Rasma and Carrie Thorson's house. That's Bear and Lois's 1950 Ford parked in front of the house. And I don't know what David's got in his hand. And now we jump 4 years ahead from 52 to 56. This is 56 in my mother and dad's living room with David on the left, me and John being held by mother who was born in 54, May 5th of 54. So mother looks pleased to be trying to keep John down. It was John, by the way, who was born in 54, not mother. I guess he probably knew that. And this, I think, is exactly the same day mother was passing John over to my dad, Clarence, to see if he could calm him down. Actually, John was always calm as a kid. But here Daddy is trying to figure it out. In 1956, I was 10 years old. John was 2, David was, 5? And Stephen wasn't coming till next year. Now this picture is marked 1956, but I know it's 57 because I think we were down for Stephen being born, and John is decidedly older looking than he was in 56. I think he's 3 here in this picture. And and that's Grandpa Ross, Bear's dad on the left, and Bear, and then Grandpa Thorson, my mother's dad. The two of them got along real good, the two grandpas. And of course, Bear always got along good with everybody, so that was wonderful. Great day. I'm not sure the exact date on this picture. It says 57, and I think it's early 58. Stephen is in Richard Thorson's arms there, and he was born in July of 57, right? Weren't you, Steve? So anyway, Grandma Thorson on the left, mother's mother. There's Elma next to her, David below mother. Rasmus Thorson, myself, Richard, Elma's brother, Stephen in his arms, Lois, and John with his mouth open looking for lunch to drop from the heavens, I guess, or something. I'm not sure what John was thinking there, but looks like a great family photo, doesn't it? Everyone was happy that day. I think so. I'm kind of thinking this is 57 rather than 58 too. I don't know. I don't know these dates that well, but it looks like John is down the front there. That is John, and isn't it? Yeah. And I think he looks a little younger than 4. But anyway, we're in the backyard of my mother and dad's house on Hayes Street in northeast Minneapolis. What can I say? If David, who's pitching, would hit, if I hit that ball too hard, I think I would have injured one of those poor kids pretty badly. But I never could hit it anyway. And this is marked 1958, and I guess this could be. There's me on the left, Vernon, and and the little dog that he had just gotten. Grandpa Thorson, Rasmus Thorson, our grandfather, looking very kingly there in that chair. John and David. Summertime, 1958. Poor Grandpa Thorson only lived another couple years. Vernon's mother, Thelma, my mother's sister, died in 59, so it was kind of a rough time. And now here has Steve entered the scene. 3 years old, 1960, and this is in the backyard of Lois and Bear's house there in Mountain Lake. It's a great property. I mean, right on the corner, huge lot, big house. Surprisingly small inside for the size on the outside, but that's the way they built homes in those days. Little, well, not little rooms, but littler than today, I think. Still about 1960, Steve now in the front room, the living room of my folks' house there. That house, I grew up there thinking it was, a fairly decent sized house, but now I look at it and oh my God, you walk through that front door and there you were in the living room and there wasn't much else. Great TV though. Wasn't that a good looking television set? Steve looks like he's been spanked for something here. I don't know, but it's a great. Now the next picture here is from 61. Interesting grouping. My dad, Clarence, you see in the back of the picture near the window. To his left is a fellow by the name of Charlie Swanson, who was a friend of Mother and Dad's and from back in Minneapolis. And we'd take him down because he is a widower, and we took him to Mountain Lake more than once. Next to him is, of course, Grandpa Ross, and then Steve. Bear to the left, John, again looking for lunch there, eating something. Lois, and Mother's forehead. And so that completes that picture. I got to admit, this is one of my very favorite pictures of Lois for all time. She was so happy that day. 1964. I don't know exactly what we were in Mountain Lake for at the time, but maybe I was just down there on my own. I was, 12 here? I'd take a bus down there occasionally. But she loved to cook, and she was in her kitchen in her glory and just having a great day. And she looked so happy there, didn't she? If only she could have been that happy all the time. Wouldn't that have been great? Yeah, she could have been. Whatever. And this is the year I actually graduated from high school. We were down in Mountain Lake here, I guess, after graduation. And that's Dad's 61 Ford Galaxy there that we're sitting on. And interestingly enough, that car behind Stephen is a 57 Plymouth, which is the exact car I had. But I guess we'd left that back in Minneapolis. So this was... what was it, Hepner's store across the street there? Epps Market. And 1964. What a great year that was. Well, now the rest of this will be video. Shot on with Super 8mm movie film that required a blasting lamp that everyone just hated. This is Christmas of '67 in my mother and dad's house. Clarence and Elma Arneson. There's Clarence opening his week. I think we gave him a flag that day to put up. He liked flags in the front yard, the American flag. So this is a new one that he got. But we're downstairs in their basement, kind of a cold, muggy, Grandma Thorson, my mother's mother. Lois's grandmother, my grandmother. Good Norwegian. Here's John deciding which of the Tchaikovsky concertos he will play. David decided to push John off the bench and start in. He preferred Edvard Grieg, so he's playing probably one of his pieces. Lois liked to hang Christmas balls, so that's what she's doing. And John is practicing his wave when he makes King of England, and he will be able to practice that. David decided not to get dressed yet, and Stephen, of course, continuing his somersaults. Lois's ball continues to twirl. He had just came from the orthodontist. He was just showing us his new braces there, Stephen. And Mother's and Dad's tree. What a lovely fake tree that was. Bear coming in from the cold. Always a smile. I love Bear more than you know. John trudging through the snow there, opening the door to get the snow shovel, I remember. And now he's working hard to get the driveway cleared off. And there you see the clean sidewalks that he was able to do. He went all down the street doing everyone's sidewalk. Amazing how quick he did that. Yep, 3431 Hayes Street Northeast. There's Dad's Ford. And there's the house, and there's John's teeth. Stephen again with his somersaulting. And I think he's been on the sauce, walking a little funny there into the house. John and David. Okay, jumping ahead 1 year to the middle of May. Oh no, beginning of May, John's confirmation. There he is. The service is over in the church, and now he's shaking everyone's hand. And most people telling him, I hope it sticks, John. And so here we are, watching people leave the church. And, of course, the call to the Sunday services. Stephen taking a picture of me, taking a picture of him. So this is John in Mountain Lake there at Lois and Bear's house. Betty, my dear wife. There is Judy College, Bear's sister, my grandmother. Thorson, Shirley, and Max, Bear's brother, and his wife. Don there, and Bear and Lois. And who's next to Lois? I guess we'd never get there. And, of course, here is Steve and Andy Ross, Don and Lee's son. This is my dad and mother's her newer car, the 67 Ford. And there's that store again, Epps Market. We're now in Minneapolis. This is my mother in her backyard checking the garbage for dinner, something to eat. Didn't see anything, so I guess she's going to go across the way to see if the other one has got anything, but she gave up on that one too, I guess, so we didn't eat that night. The gate is closing. She'd always pull that little rope over so nobody would get in. Before they had, the technology of home invasion stuff, she just used a little piece of rope. Dad, painting, he always liked to paint. He was a great painter, usually by number. So he'd buy these kits, he'd plaster up on the house wall and paint by number. But he didn't like me taking a picture, so he removed his paint, gave it up on it, finished the house halfway through. This is Grandma Thorson in her living room on 2606 McKinley Street Northeast. Mother, so proud to be there, and Betty, Grandma Thorson, she was a sweet lady, really was. My dad eating, he didn't like to sit at the table with the ladies, so he would sit always in the living room. And there's some of the pictures from Norway that Grandma and Grandpa collected. They immigrated from Norway back in 1904, something like that. This is Richard, Mother's brother, living there with Grandma Thorson after Grandpa died. The stairs up to the second story, kind of interesting. And a picture, again, of Norway. Now we've jumped ahead to Christmas of 68. The other year was 67. There's Vernon and his wife, first wife, Roxanne, I think her name was. Mother, new purse, obviously. Shirley with a new baby. Richard, Max, Bear, and my dad. John getting another gift. Stephen ripping his open. So much for the ribbon. And everyone's opening something, except Max. He's smoking, I think, back there. What is this? I don't even know. I don't remember what this was. This is Vernon's little boy. And Yeah, I don't know. Lois is opening something too. Everyone's opening something but me. I'm just taking pictures. Nobody gave me anything this year, I don't believe. I don't remember getting anything anyway. But just the joy of serving others, taking pictures. Mother washing dishes in Mountain Lake. I don't know what year this was. Maybe 69, something like that. There's Shirley Ross with her, that's Judy, and Shirley is her daughter, and Lois sitting down to meal. It was so many folks, they had to have a table attached to the table. John and my mother, Betty, there behind John. And there's Don. And oh, there's Ed College and two of his grandkids. My dad in the little study area there of the house. David saying, "What the hell are you taking my picture for?" And back to Shirley and Mother. Mother is smiling again. And oh, Andy is showing magic tricks, I think, there. Betty in white, she has her nurse's outfit on, I think it was. John refusing to get into the card game. Shirley doesn't look happy there that day. She wasn't well, I don't think. Mother, what has Mother got there? Some kind of a device? I don't know. I won't go anywhere near that. Here is, again, Judy and her little granddaughter. Now we're leaving the house, going back to Minneapolis. There's Lee in the background there. See how nice? Lee is a nice lady. And Stephen waving goodbye, saluting, paying homage to my Air Force job. David and Mother talking about Norway or something. Dad saying, "What the hell, can we get going, please?" And there's John taking a movie of me taking a movie again. And Bear going out to wish everyone the best. David and Betty still talking about Norway. There's Don, relaxed as always. Now here we are in Little Rock Air Force Base in Arkansas. This is in 69, I think. Craig hadn't been born yet. Lois and Bear and Mother and Dad drove down to visit us. And John was there. Did I see Stephen too? Yeah, Stephen's there. David didn't. I think he was in, this was 69. So I think David was in college already. Yeah. Lois happy again. When she was happy, she was happy. John finally picking up on that magic trick in the card game, I think. And he's so happy about that. Bear happy again. One happy guy. I liked him. Did I say that already? I did, though. I really did. He was a great, great guy. Miss him a lot. Our kitchen, small as it was, American Airlines had kitchens very similar to that on their airplanes. Betty smiling, happy to be filmed. Not. Mother doing her dishes. She liked to do dishes. That's one of her joys, really. She wrote a book on it. Dad eating again and relaxing there at the table. I don't know where. We were somewhere in Arkansas. This is probably in Little Rock. We took a trip to some park there, and Mother and there's Stephen and John. John's there. Lois and Bear. Stephen was always peaceful, and he'd show it every time he'd stick those two peace sign fingers up. He was still that way, very peaceful. Maybe a hard rock musician, but a peaceful man. John pointing to north. He was kind of a compass for us. Always wanted to find true north, and he did very successfully. This is the way up to Mother's room at the motel. We put her up there. She liked to be able to see the city, so there she had her bed up there. And Dad would visit her every couple hours just to check on her, and smoke up there too. She liked to have him smoke a cigar when he'd come for a visit. Is this video getting a little weird? I have not been drinking. I swear this is going to end really. I'm going to be embarrassed. John says enough. Bear says hello. He's happy. Happy guy. Mother walking ahead of the pack, always leading the group. Very much of a leader. All right. The end of the story. Thanks for listening.